Democratic Republic of Congo. One of the primary reasons for this low ranking is our lack of comprehensive legislation. Without a proper Data Protection Act or Cybersecurity Act, we remain vulnerable and an easy target. Individuals and entities can exploit and steal our data without fear of prosecution due to the absence of relevant laws. That means someone can steal your information, like your identity, use it against you, exploit you, and there's nothing we can do to prosecute these criminals. Furthermore, the absence of a Data Protection Act means our sensitive private data and information are unprotected. This has a direct impact on the private sector, public sector, and individual consumers. Beyond being a significant security threat, this situation also deters foreign investment. Telkom Namibia recently suffered a major breach exposing sensitive data, including that of individuals, ministries, state-owned enterprises, and private businesses. Businesses and private individuals have no resource or mechanism to report and hold to account the custodians of their private data. The Akira ransomware group was implicated in this attack, claiming to possess over 84 gigabytes of sensitive corporate data. However, as of now, no evidence has emerged to confirm the release of any data. Given how vulnerable we are and the fact that our government data is hosted both within the country and outside the country, I would like to pose the following questions to the Honourable Minister. How far along is the Cabinet Committee on Legislation with processing the Data Protection Bill? Considering all the potential negative ramifications of not having this bill, why has the Ministry delayed its progress for years? Why can't we host our own data? Where exactly is the Namibian government data hosted? Could the Minister kindly provide the nation with the names of specific companies and countries that provide the service for hosting Namibian data? Please be specific regarding what entities are hosted where, like NAMRA, ECN, NAMPOL, Home Affairs, etc. What data protection agreements do we have in place with these companies to ensure our data is secured and protected? What would be the repercussions should these companies leak our data? And how would we be notified if there is a data breach? How can we begin to invest in EIDs if we are not even hosting our own data? Is this not a significant potential liability? And how can high-tech local and foreign investors be expected to invest in Namibia when there are no protections in place to safeguard their business or that of their clients? On 1 January 2024, mandatory SIM cards registration and data retention regulations under Part 6 of Chapter 5 of the Communications Act of 2009 came into full effect. Without a Data Protection Act, what assurances does the public have that this sensitive data is being stored safely, and what resources would they have if this data is abused? I so submit.
I recognize Honorable Kalangula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I hereby give notice that on Thursday, the 3rd of July 2025, I shall ask the Honorable Minister of Works and Transport, Honorable Veiko Nekundi, the following questions. I rise to ask on the road of Usakos Arandes Swakopmund as per strategic plan of Road Authority. Honorable Minister, Roads Authority planned for the Usakos Swakopmund road upgrade for many years, but are behind schedule in view of the regional significance of B2 corridor, which connects Walvis Bay to all landlocked countries in SADC. To indicate that this road upgrade is long overdue, reference is made to past and present Road Authority strategic plans as from 2018. Now, on that same strategic plan, on page 40, which is from 2018 to 2023, and that of strategic plan that followed after of 2024 to 2028 on page 38 to 40. It shows that B2 road upgrade has been there for a long time, you will see that the Usakos Arandes Swakopmund Road upgrade has been planned for implementation in every strategic plan before and now, but never implemented or forever taking long. Now, even if this road upgrade is implemented soon, at what probability would it be upgraded to dual road? Now, Honorable Minister, that is problematic for Namibia and Walvis Bay as a center of this regional logistic corridor, because that road section is at present already congested with heavy trucks. Therefore, it is of the view that it's best if government intervenes by instructing the road authority to amend the design to dual standard as the most viable solution. If not dualized now, it will become apparent that there shall be revisitation back to upgrade that road to dual standard in just a short time after wasting money by upgrading it to 2+1 standard, as is the case with the ongoing Karibe-Kusakos road. To supplement this concern, Walvis Bay Corridor Group, through the media report on March 2025, indicated that they expect Walvis Bay Port to handle 1,500 trucks per day by 2029, which is a mere 4 years from now. According to National Road Safety Council, statistics indicates a total of 5,628 road crashes and 112 fatalities in Irongo region alone from 2020 to 2024. Now, Honorable Minister, it is based on this background that I now add to ask the following questions. 5 questions. Number 1, why does the government not intervene to amend these roads, the design of these roads to dual standards before it's too late? And same applies to Otavi and Ochuarongo Road. And number 2, what is the purpose of having strategic plans with our SOEs that goes unimplemented and end up transferred to the next strategic plan? Is this how projects stall on paper without implementation or accountability? Number 3, would the Honourable Minister agree that the safety of the road users on the said road is determined by the commitment of government and SOEs to stick to its plans as per statistics and increasing trends? Number 4, what will the Minister do to avoid such future waste of feasibility study findings, data, or recommendation that leads to strategic plans but remains on paper without action? Now, finally, number 5, with the above given statistics, how many souls must we expect to lose and injuries to occur on these outdated roads while government continue to be on the watch of the same key projects being shuffled across 5 years on paperwork? I so submit, Honourable.
Can the Honourable Member please table the questions? Yes, Honourable Members, I want to remind us of the 3 minutes rule for questions. I have additional members. I see Honourable Hengombe.
I hereby give notice that on Thursday, the 3rd of July 2025, I shall ask the Minister of Industries, Mines and Energy, Honourable Nakangwe Ithete, the following questions. I rise to ask on the Stambrid ISL uranium mining. The Stambrid uranium saga in Namibia, in the Hardap and Omaheke region, refers to growing controversies around proposed in situ leach ISL uranium mining near the critical Stambrid artesian aquifer, a shared transboundary groundwater system used by local communities, farms, towns. For example, Stambrid, Leonardsville, Aranos, and cross-border areas in Botswana and South Africa. What's at stake here is that over 3.3 million hectares, approximately 53% of the basin, are under uranium exploration licenses. The aquifer is the only year-round fresh water in this semi-arid region. In situ leach mining, meaning injecting acid solution to dissolve uranium underground, risk contaminating drinking water with uranium, toxic heavy metals, sulfate, and radionuclides. The affected communities seek the following: Can the ministry show results from the borehole sampling campaign and have a release of the data to the public and especially the affected communities? 2, what are the final recommendations and decisions from inter-ministerial task force and parliamentary review? And the last one is, has the ministry allowed any permit renewal or expansion of ISL mining in or near the Stambridge Basin? I saw something.
Can the honourable member please table the questions? I now recognize Honorable Roderick Likando.
I hereby give notice that on Thursday, the 3rd of July 2025, I'll ask the Honorable Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism the following questions. According to the Policy on Tourism and Wildlife Concessions on State Land of 2007, Section 4, subsection 4.1.1, in the interest of ensuring transparency and fairness, a just and fair competitive process should be applied to award concessions. Honorable Minister, I need clarity on ownership. Could the Honorable Minister clarify for the record who is the recognized legal owner or beneficiary of the Sosuflay, shuttle and kiosk concession as currently awarded and implemented? Is the concession vested in the government of the Republic of Namibia in the name of the community beneficiaries, or is the concession on the holding company as per publicly issued notice of award on community benefit from concession operations in accordance with the community-based tourism principles under which this concession was awarded? Could the Honorable Minister indicate the total financial benefit on income that has to date accrued to the named beneficiaries communities from the concessions operation? And on the issue of NWR's operations role and associated government benefit, it has been publicly observed that Namibia Wildlife Resorts continue to operate transport services within Sosuflay area, especially in proximity to the 2x4 and 4x4 parking zones. Could the Honorable Minister confirm under what authority or agreement NWR continues to offer such services during the concessions implementation period? What amount of income or benefit, if any, has been received by the government or the ministry from NWR for operating these services since the commencement of the current concessions? I so submit, Honorable Speaker.
Yes. May the honourable member please table the questions? What? Honorable Swartboy, Bernardos, Clinton, you are out of order, honorable member. Very good. Okay, now I recognize Honorable Justina Jonas.
Honorable Speaker, I hereby give notice that on the 3rd July 2025, I shall direct the following questions to Honorable Minister of Justice and Labour Relations, Honorable Wiseman Emmanuel. In January 2025, the Swaporate government introduced a national minimum wage aimed at addressing pressing social economic challenges. The policies seek to reduce income inequality, alleviate poverty, and promote gender equity. Its introduction marks a significant step towards achieving social justice, gender equality, and inclusive economic growth. Since its implementation, there have been both positive and negative response regarding compliance particularly in the retail, charcoal, transport, and logistics sector. Among others, while commendable progress has been observed in the compliance within the sectors such as construction, domestic work, and security, there are increasingly reports on non-compliance by employers undermining the overall objective of the policy. In light of the above, I respectfully pose the following questions to Honourable Minister. Since the implementation of the national minimum wage in January 2025, how many employers have been complying with the national minimum wage? How many employers have failed to comply, and what enforcement measures the Ministry has undertaken to ensure compliance? What public awareness initiative has the Ministry introduced to educate employers and employees about the national minimum wage? How is compliance with the sector minimum wage being monitored across different sectors? Could the Honourable Minister provide data on compliance and non-compliance per sector and the measures being taken to improve enforcement? Who is responsible for enforcing compliance with the minimum wage, and what procedures must be followed to ensure that non-compliant employees are held accountable?
Honourable Member, you are disrupting the proceedings.
Where can workers report cases of non-compliance with national or sectoral minimum wage, and what protections are in place to ensure their safety when doing so? The last one, where and how can workers, especially those in the remote and rural areas, access official information and documents detailing the national and sectoral minimum wage provision? The second question, Honourable Speaker, can I continue?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I hereby give notice that on the 10th July, I shall pose the following question to Honourable Minister of Gender, Equality and Child Welfare, Honourable Emma Kantema. Namibia is recognized for its strong legal and constitutional foundation promoting gender equality, aimed at eliminating gender-based discrimination across spheres of society. The country has ratified various international conventions, including Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women and the ILO Convention on Violence and Harassment in the Workplace. This legal framework provides a firm basis for incorporating gender consideration into collective bargaining processes. Integrating gender equality into collective bargaining yields far-reaching benefits that extend beyond the workplace. Through negotiated agreements between employer and employee, gender-sensitive bargaining addressing systematic inequalities promote inclusive and equitable workplaces, as well as foster social and economic progress. Namibia has earned continental recognition as a leader in gender equality, recently ranked as the most gender equality country in Africa and 8th globally. These achievements are the result progress policy championed by the Swapo government, including the Affirmative Action Act, strong political will, and the institutional reform that have shifted gender dynamic nationwide. However, despite these advances, many working women in Namibia still face significant barriers, including persistent gender bias and stereotypes, the broken rank phenomenon embedding career advancement, pay gaps and financial inequities, work-life imbalance and caregiver burdens, workplace harassment and safety concern, as well as burnout and mental health challenges. The following question, Honourable Minister: what development programs such as skilled, upskilling and reskilling are currently offered or supported by the Ministry to empower women in the workplaces? How is the Ministry working with the labour movement to increase women participation in male-dominant sectors such as mining, construction, marine engineering, motors, wood and metal industry? Does the Ministry offer any funding or grant programs to support the career working of women, especially in the underrepresented of emerging sectors? What measures has the Ministry implemented to address the reduced gender-based harassment in the workplaces? Are there any existing and planned programs promoting flexible time arrangement for supporting workers with caregivers' responsibilities? Has the Ministry developed any educational or advocacy program to help women negotiate and integrate gender-related issues such as childcare facilities at workplaces, access to free sanitary products at workplaces, menstruation leave or flexible schedules into collective bargaining agreements. I so submit.
Thank you. May the honourable member please table the question. Yes, it is indeed so that there is a time limit of 3 minutes, which is enforceable in terms of rule 85 sub 3. A presiding member has the discretion to extend the time limit allocated to any matter being considered by the House by not more than an additional 5 minutes. So the first questions that were posed also exceeded 3 minutes. And that is why I notified when the presiding officer is making a ruling, she will be heard in silence. So now, the next member is Honorable Ampanda, and he has the floor. No?
So Speaker, it's an urgent oral question. I take it that we've disposed of the other ones.
Okay, are there notified questions? Not okay. I see only Honorable Ampanda and Honorable Lukato. Maybe it's also an urgent oral question, so you may proceed.
So this one goes to Deputy Prime Minister. On the question. Okay, so Speaker, No, hold on. Is it already? When we're talking.
Don't just go ahead.
Okay,
no problem.
Thank you.
Just go ahead.
Honorable Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, state-owned enterprises are quite very important, at least in 3 respects. One being contribution to our GDP, employment safety net. At least we know that we're not going to wake up and everyone employed by NAMWATA is unemployed. At least we know. And also support for the developmental agenda. So Namibia's industrial policy, the last that existed, the one that I saw, had 3 components. Is to transform the economy through manufacturing and many other things like that. 2 is creation of jobs and reducing poverty. But obviously, transforming the economy also means the ownership of the economy. Who is it that is controlling and owning the commanding heights of the economy? Not just the creation of jobs. The reduction of poverty, it also means poverty has faces. Yeah? Poverty is gendered, is located in a particular geography. But I'm raising this urgent question with regards to NIDA, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister. We know that the investment speculation, Honorable Katameno said, I mustn't say that Investment Promotion Board had seconded a CEO to go to NIDA. But I'm really concerned. Every day you wake up, Honorable Minister, Honorable Kapofi, we're asking him. So every time we are waking up, we are always waking up to the news of assets of the state, particularly when it comes to NIDA, either being privatized or being auctioned with foreigners. The Manyeha crocodile farm, where the government invested a lot of money, is gone to the South African company. The farm in Kavango, where there's a lot of cattle, that farm, they are already negotiating it to either privatize it or give it to a foreigner. There are already foreigners that are getting involved in that, is in Naute in the south. The convection, the government got land from the city of Windhoek through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and the ministry gave it to NIDA. As we speak, NIDA is negotiating, because it's supposed to be a conference center with a capacity of 5,000 that we don't have in our country. As we speak, there's a foreign British company that is busy negotiating with NIDA already to do private activity on that land. That government has gotten, gave it to NIDA, and it continues like that. Now, Minister, are you not concerned about these things? Because these SOEs, even the apartheid regime that created these SOEs, they created them and they never sold them. But for some reason, we believe we must just dish them out to all these things. But listening to you as a minister and the policy stands where you stand and the new government where it stands, I'm surprised how these things continue. Are you aware of these activities? Is it perhaps part of the ministry's sanctioned approach to either privatize these assets or work with foreigners without advertising? And if you are not perhaps aware, and I really hope that you are not aware, you are not involved, what measures? Because every day we just wake up, a deal is done, a deal is done. They've appointed transactional advisors. The beautiful thing what they have with this corrupt scheme is that they don't need to go on tender because it's a public thing. They just are able, they can trade off that land that was given to government without going on tender. This is at odd, Minister, as I sit down. This is at odd with what you stand for, what we hear you standing for, what we hear this government standing for. And it's urgent because every day this thing is one asset is gone. Congola is there, it's gone to South Africans. And they are continuing to acquire conservancies and many things like that. So this is really, I hope you see the urgency of what of this matter.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I want to remind the members, we have 20 minutes for all urgent oral questions. So if we take up too much time at the beginning, we will run out of time before we have all the questions put. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, you may now respond.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me use this opportunity to thank Honorable Ampanda for hosting those questions. Of course, we need to transform our economy. There's no doubt about that, and there's no argument about that. We have to create jobs, and we have to pull our people out of poverty. We have to do it with responsible institutions, and that include NIDA. It's what we're supposed to do. And if there is an entity that is not doing that, we need to call them to order. And I will not shy away that there is a number of shortfalls at NIDA. Yes, maybe I have not been seen speaking about them and so on, but we did. I've engaged the chairperson of the board last week. I've assisted them to speed up the process of meeting me. We are meeting this week, before the end of this week, the entire board and the entire management with a clear concern on what is happening. As rightfully as you have put it, there are a number of issues that I'm aware of, and there are a number that I do not know. And it's good if you know some, you can always share it with me, because we can, as a country, we cannot allow a state-owned enterprise to run the way it's running. It will be very much irresponsible of me not to take any action against any state-owned enterprise if it's not serving the Namibian people. So all state-owned enterprises, they are created to serve first the Namibian people. There's no argument about that. They were not created to sell properties to foreigners. We must first serve our Namibian people before we look elsewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Lukato. 20 minutes for all the questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, members of Parliament, and the leaders of political parties. All of political parties. Yes. Yes, I raise on Rule 124D regarding the privilege of question, but it's I need I'm asking for the platform, Honorable Speaker, to make a clarity according to Rule 134, the procedure of asking questions and also answer. So according to this Rule 134, it was appeared that last week, it's just a clarity that how to put questions and how to pose questions. Those two methods are legality according to the procedure. Those two methods are legality. The first item is how to pose question. It's where the presiding officer gives an opportunity to the member to pose questions. That's right. The second one is where a member is already asked questions, whether it's oral or written questions that he was supposed to put. So, in other words, that the example, a presiding officer got right to give a member a platform to pose question. So, a presiding officer cannot say pose question where answers can be provided, but in terms of posing, let me say, in terms of put questions, is where, example, Minister of Environment. Just a second.
Honorable member, can you come to the point?
Yes, I'm coming.
Yes.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Yes, thank you so much. What I mean is that, just the example what I say, if it's a term method to put question, a member will rise and say.
Okay, what is your question?
The question this, it was confused last week. I want to make it clarity on that one. Because it was not.
No, Honorable Member, you cannot rise to provide a clarification to an issue which is not clarified. So unless if you want to query, you want to raise a query in order to get clarification. Right now we are not getting what the Honorable Member is saying, and the time is running for oral agent questions.
Okay, Honorable Speaker, let me say, let me leave it there because I wanted to make it clarity. And thank you very much.
Thank you. So now the next Honorable Member, I have a list. The next member is Honorable Vetaruhe Kandrodu. Honorable Ampanda, can you just ask for the floor to speak maybe, and then you'll be added to the list within the 20 minutes. Right now the floor is for Honorable Kandrodu. Very good. Yeah, very good. Honorable Kandrodu, you may now pose your question.
Thank you so much, Speaker. My urgent question go to my sister, Minister of Home Affairs, Safety and Immigration, Safety and Security, Honorable Lucia Ipumbu. My question is very straightforward. Why is the Namibian police providing a security service or has allocated a police officer to guard the Secretary General of SWAPO Party, Honorable Shaningwa? What criteria were used to select only one SG while we have over? Can I be protected? So, what criteria were used? Why are we using state resources just to protect a Secretary General of a political party? Ms. Sophia, wait.
Okay, is the Honorable Member done?
I'm not done.
Okay, please proceed. Proceed with the questions.
Yes. If there is a criteria can that criteria also apply to all the political party in Parliament so that we get the police protection like Office Wapo Party? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, would you like to respond?
From Fisheries.
I think the mic is not on. Is it? Can we please take care of the mic?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You may proceed, Honorable Minister.
Can I have the floor?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In my view, the question is not urgent. Secondly, the benefits and entitlements of various political office bearers are enshrined in the document that is existing, that includes the leader of the opposition. And I hope he is going to question the benefits that are also extended to the leader of an opposition. Thank you.
Honorable Somaev. No, Honorable SG. No, it's not.
No, but Speaker. But is it up to the minister to decide whether the question is urgent?
Has the floor. Honorable Somaev, you have the floor.
But the minister was out of order. How could she decide whether the question is urgent or not? It's not up to her.
No, she does. She can't decide to not answer. And because the standing rule, honorable member, can you take a seat? Can you, one moment. The questions are supposed to be pre-notified. And it's a discretion of the presiding officer to decide that a question that is not pre-notified can actually be put. So I asked the minister whether she would like to respond, and she said the question is actually not urgent, and I don't disagree with her. So we are past that. That question could have been pre-notified.
No,
now,
I did not hear your ruling.
Somaev, you may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to put my urgent question to the Prime Minister. I think he's a relevant person to respond to my question. As Minister of Works, is also a culprit in this. One of the good days, Prime Minister broke the news to me that the route of SOEs and coming up was obviously approved. And I was very much excited with the expectation that at least youth in our area will be employed.
Honorable Member, is the Minister of Transport...
Yes, now I redirected to the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normal practice, we are having traditional authorities or local authorities or written councils in our jurisdictions to represent the central government. And we are expecting, as normal practice, in other areas, if a capital project is run, we are doing in consultation with the structures. But in current case of Kunene, Kamia, Korigas district, the whole show is now run by the Office of the Governor, whereby he solely interrupt the process and personally recruited the youth or members of his choice for this road construction. And also the same governor ran the shows on behalf of the public entity, which is RCC, also running, awarding the bids on behalf of the RCC.
the governor. I'm also having evident proof that he also indicated that he sources 5 members of youth and also running around to get the grader and equipment for this youth. So I want to know who give him that mandate to run the beach on behalf of the public entity and also solely recruit the youth on behalf of the community. And this is the outcry. It's a time bomb. That last week there was a demonstration. Community unrest is now a core. So I want to know, is it lawful that the sole person we know representing a certain political party to run the show, advertise the bids only on swap of WhatsApp pages, and in his boardroom award bids on behalf of RCC? So is it legal? So I want to know from the office of the Prime Minister, as he is an overall person on the affairs of the government.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Prime Minister, would you like to respond?
Yes. Is it okay now? Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Omes, Honorable, for your questions. How much time do I have? 2 minutes.
Yes, two minutes.
Firstly, I want to thank the Honorable Member for asking that question of clarity. And maybe before I do so, let me also thank you for conceding Kamanyap. And also thank you for understanding that we also conceded to you in Fontaine. Yeah, as usual. And so, therefore, I thank also the Secretary General of the party.
Who must be protected.
Yes. Kabe South, Broadfontein, and Ochuarongo. Yeah, thank you. So now that the seconds have gone, I want to say to the Honorable Member that yes, we are all aware about unemployment, including in Kamanyap, and so too when the minister came there, and I recall this conversation, that we asked him to meet the traditional authority. I know that he contacted Chief Garweb and others. The intention of government is, of course, to be consultative and participatory. It is not only Kamanyap and Korihas, but also Opuo and Okangwati. All those 2 roads. So consultation has to be there. So in the event that there is no consultation, I know that, Honorable Member, we will also consult you even after this session. And I think you will agree that in terms of what the Honorable Governor did was to ask the unemployed youth in Ocho, in Kamanyap, in Korihas, I think in all other parts of Kunene region. And I'm not too sure, though, Honorable Member, that procurement is done in a manner that you are suggesting it was done. And I think if that is the case, we will have this conversation maybe at another session so that we find out under which act that particular procurement is taking place. But I do not believe, Honorable Speaker, that it will be accurate to say it in the manner that Honorable Member is saying it, because it is just not what the Procurement Act, albeit imperfect as it is, that it does things the way that he's describing it. But I do understand the political thermometer that is connected to the question. So, but we'll talk about it.
Honorable members, you see, when we have important issues that we want to query through questions, I think it is better for us to comply with the rule that says we pose our questions in writing to enable the members to get correct information to provide. Because when we come here now, you surprise a member with a question that does not even resort under the office. And at the end of the day, we have cast a doubt, and those doubts cannot be dispelled because the member cannot respond. So I'm not going to allow any follow-up question on this. Actually, this is not a question that qualifies as an oral agent question. I just want the honorable members to know that when I exercise flexibility, it's not because I'm not familiar with the rules or because I'm too weak to apply the rules. I just don't want to create too much rigidity. I want people to be able to have a little bit of flexibility. But honorable member, please, if there is an issue there, put it in writing so that the government will be able to properly deal with it. Having said that, I think the list is exhausted here. We have finished the 20 minutes. No more oral agent questions. Now we proceed to the agenda of the House. Yeah, no, the next one, the first notice of a motion is the one by Honorable Hengari. Does the honorable member move the motion? Oh, you see, we stayed there for too long. Okay, so now we moved from notices of questions to notices of motions. Any notice of a motion? Honorable, it says Honorable Kalola. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Having recognized the emotional, psychological, and social strain experienced by individuals and couples who struggle with infertility, as well as financial burdens associated with assessing treatment, and having noted that access to fertility treatment in Namibia is limited and often financially inaccessible to the majority, including public servants who contribute to the Public Service Employee Medical Aid Scheme, CMAS. I hereby give notice that on Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025, I shall move that the Ministry of Finance, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Social Services and the Public Service Commission, undertake the necessary steps to include fertility treatment services, including but not limited to consultations, diagnostic tests, hormone therapy, and others under the CMAS benefit structure, review and amend the CMAS benefits framework to reflect the reproductive health needs of members, particularly addressing infertility, and engage medical professionals, fertility specialists, and affected individuals to guide and scope and implementation of coverage. That these services not only be implemented by CMAS, but also rolled out to all medical aid schemes in Namibia. I further move that the motion be referred to the relevant Parliamentary Standing Committee. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, the honorable member may please table the motion. Any ministerial statements? Reports from the Committee of the Whole? Ministerial statements? Oh, okay. Honorable Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. I rise to provide information to this August House concerning the much publicized allegations of illegal fishing of pilchards. At the onset, I would like to inform this House and the public through this House that currently there is no targeted fishing taking place owing to a moratorium that has been in place since 2018. This moratorium was necessitated by 3 consecutive years of zero biomass, including critically low stock levels. Therefore, the moratorium remains crucial to facilitating the recovery of the pilchards population to biologically sustainable levels. This further underscore the government's unwavering commitment to the long-term sustainability of the Namibian marine resources. Honorable Speaker, while recent surveys show a positive recovery trend, with the current pilchard stock estimated at 850,000 metric tons, it remains below the 1 million metric tons scientific sustainable spawner biomass target. Given that the pilchard fishery is a relatively short-lived species, their population is highly susceptible to environmental factors that can lead to significant mortality. Thus, ensuring that the stock reach biologically sustainable level is crucial to buffer against this natural fluctuation and ensure the long-term health of species. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the Ministry acknowledges the concern raised regarding pilchard bycatches and has formally engaged the industry to express our concern regarding the increasing volume of pilchard bycatches. Furthermore, honorable members, when the Fishery Observer Agency received reports concerning alleged vessels involved in illegal fishing of pilchard, they would normally escalate this information to the Monitoring, Control and Surveillance Unit for thorough investigation and appropriate action. In addition, on every fishing boat there are ministerial observers, and when they observe increased volume of pilchards, they direct the vessel to relocate to alternative grounds. And this directive has so far been complied with. However, despite our efforts, a notable number of vessels catching pilchard persist across the various areas, which underscore the complexity of bycatch management. Honorable Speaker, the observable increase in pilchard landings offer reasonable grounds to suggest that this bycatch may not always be unintentional, but rather a deliberate act on the part of those who are involved. This directly impacts the recovery efforts for this crucial species, and we have expressly communicated this to the industry. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, it is reasonable to state that current enforcement measures and associated penalties are proving insufficient to deter illegal fishing of pilchards. The Ministry is therefore actively exploring a range of measures to enhance compliance within our fishery subsector. These include, but not limited to, the revision of current moratorium, implementing stricter bycatches limits, revising the landed value of species to deter bycatches, and deploying more advanced monitoring and surveillance systems. And obviously, we are also looking at a significant revision of the current penalty regime to introduce tougher penalties for non-compliance. In addition, the Ministry plans to consult with our scientists internally with a view to conduct targeted pilchard stock assessment to determine the biomass. These efforts are designed to ensure that bycatches regulations are respected and that the recovery of the pilchard stock is not compromised. I therefore urge all industry stakeholders to support these efforts for the best interests of our country. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I assure this House and the Namibian people that the ministry remains steadfast in its commitment to sustainable fishery management. I am confident that these proactive steps will contribute significantly to the long-term health and sustainability of our marine ecosystem. The ministry will continue to closely monitor the situation and ensure adherence to the regulations and current measures. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member, I now recognize Honorable Nekongo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me also thank the Minister for alerting us on that situation that is threatening, I think, our fishery. But Minister, I just wanted also to find out, in terms of punishment that is given. I'm standing here with a statistic, and I do not want to go into them as per the vessels from 2022 to 2024. And the bycatch act increase as if maybe there is nothing that is done. Because I can see some increase from 324 metric tons to 7,000 metric tons in 2024. That means that it is increasing. Now the question is, where does this pilchard? Last week, I think, if not 2 days ago, a vessel was offloaded with a significant number. The question is, where does those fish go? Does it go maybe to drought relief and maybe canned for the benefit of our society, or does it go for profit? If then it goes to those companies to benefit in terms of profit, I think the ministry really have to do much to limit that and punish those that are, making use of bycatch to profit. So I really appreciate that the minister has come out, and you have our support so that we protect our fish and let the fish, as one of our natural resources, benefit the Namibian people. So the company must not exploit that opportunity to use bycatch to profit for themselves. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Member. I recognize Honorable Ampanda.
Yeah, thank you very much, Minister. It's good to hear that those efforts are being done. But the fundamental problem, I guess maybe there has never been an interest when it comes to technical issues of this nature, but we just want to announce that we are very much interested. Minister, with regards to Monk, on the 13th of June, you gazetted half a page the categories of quota from the total allowable catch in respect of Monk. Doesn't say much, it just speaks about the total allowable catch of 9,600 metric tons, commercial quota of 8,600, non-commercial quota of 1,000. But obviously, as members of the public, when we try to understand, you read the determination, it says that under section 38 of that, when you made that determination, you say that you determine on the basis of the best scientific evidence available. But obviously, as Speaker? So you are indicating that
yes,
on the basis...
Just proceed.
Okay.
What was it, Honorable Member, that we are drawing my attention to?
Yeah?
What? Is it the Honorable Samkwasa?
Yeah, so,
okay.
So sometimes
okay,
so there is an indication, obviously, of the best scientific, and the word is very interesting and very carefully chosen. You say that you made that determination of that TAC in terms of the best scientific evidence available after you have consulted the Marine Council Advisory Council. So as members of Parliament, but maybe let me speak of myself, I would want to benefit from those best scientific evidence available that inform that determination. So if it can be made available for us to inform ourselves, what is that best scientific evidence? Because it's after consultation, we're now being told in terms, what does it mean? And having requested the advice from, so it means you made a determination, then you requested advice. What did that council say as far as that? That's what we want to actually see, what is basically happening there. But also, maybe it might be a legacy issue, but I want to understand, because those TAC is with the effect of that season of the 1st of May. Why is it that the season, the TAC is being determined in June, retrospectively of a season that began on the 1st of May? So maybe if there's a particular, because what was happening before that determination? Or maybe there was, I'm willing to learn, because then I would have assumed that why would something be done retrospectively in terms of that? And lastly, on the lighter note, I was in Germany and I got served maspager. Horse mackerel, that's a, yeah. So that is so huge, so big. And then I was asking, where did it come from? Then I realized that actually, somebody told me, no, I also went to Spain, I went to other countries. These masbager that we're eating there, Tomarala, just small size, but these foreigners are getting the big ones. True. Is there a specific reason why it's only these Europeans are getting the big masbager? That's what I'm saying on the lighter note. Because I find it quite very interesting. Are we not worthy of the big masbager or just the Europeans? Neyman.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Minister, you please have the floor to respond.
Thank you very much, honorable members. And let me answer the question in the order in which they were posed. Firstly, Honorable Nekongo, where do the fish go? That is called by the bycatchers. So in terms of the current system, those who have rights to catch horse mackerel are permitted, because the pilchards and the horse mackerel, sometimes at a given time of the year, they are all running in the same water area. So those who have rights to catch horse mackerel in that area are allowed to catch other species, not only pilchard, as a bycatch. And that bycatch is only limited to 5% of the total volume landed. So what is happening now is that sometimes, in some cases, the boats are fishing more pilchards than the horse mackerel for various reasons and various factors. So that is why we are saying that in order for us to ensure adherence to the 5% compliance that is currently in place, we need to increase the penalties. Currently, I think the penalty for over-exceeding the 5% is something like $2.70 per whatever. So obviously, we are now looking at how we can increase those levels drastically so that we can penalize those who are exceeding the 5% which is allowed in terms of their rights. And as to what happened to the bycatches that they catch, there are operators that are having factories. In fact, there are 2 in Warfish Bay that are processing pilchards into cannery. And they normally will sell those bycatches to those particular factories. And those particular factories, obviously, the negotiations between them and the bycatches is a private conversation between the quota right holder and those who are acquiring the bycatches. And therefore, when we are saying we are looking at measures to increase the penalty so that we can hopefully, in the meantime, while we are looking at the moratorium, disincentivize people from increasing the bycatches as opposed to the one that they are supposed to catch. And Honorable Ampanda, with regard to the Gazette of the monkfish and how the TAC is determined, before it comes to the minister, there's a whole internal process where the relevant resource management directorate will sit before the beginning of the season, and based on available information from the scientists who are conducting surveys throughout the year, they will determine what is available biomass that can be given as a quota, a TAC. And obviously you don't want to issue a TAC which is equivalent to your biomass, so you keep it normally in the range of 30 to 40%. And then that will go to the Marine Advisory Council, which is a council comprised of experts and scientists. They will look at that recommendation from the scientists and the Resource Management Directorate. And then based on the assessment, that recommendation is then made to the minister for consideration. And usually you want to determine the TAC before the season starts. So in the case of the monk fishing season, which started in May, and the TAC only determined by way of Gazette in June, that was because of the intervening variables that happened between me taking over the office, but the process had already started. So that is why the Gazette was issued only afterwards. And then in terms of the honorable members wanting to understand the best scientific information that the minister uses in determining the TAC, I have actually been thinking that I will avail to the relevant committee of the Standing Committee of the House an opportunity for our people that are responsible for the input, the research and scientific input, one day to come to that specific standing committee to share that information, the whole biomass situation, the management of the resource, and then the legal provision that regulate the management of the resources at the appropriate moment. I'm yet to meet formally with the scientists, although I have met them on different occasions as I was visiting the operations. In fact, we were supposed to have met on Monday for this process to start internally before we start sharing that information externally, but no doubt at any appropriate moment, or if you are available at the right moment, you can contact me and we can organize that meeting for you to get the full detail. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The House will now rise until 14 hours, 10 minutes.
that extracts more than it gives, exploits more than it empowers, and suffocates more than it sustains. Nearly half of our people, especially civil servants, are burdened with unsustainable debt levels. This is not merely a statistical concern, it is a humanitarian one. These are teachers who dedicate their lives to nurturing the minds of our children, only to see 60% of their salaries garnished before payday arrives. These are nurses who save lives by day and plead with loan sharks at night. These are parents who borrow not to invest, but to eat, who do not seek credit for mobility, but for survival. What we're witnessing is not a natural outcome of economic activity, but the byproduct of a financial system structurally tilted against the vulnerable. While our people languish in economic distress, financial institutions flourish. Letshego, for instance, reported profits of 199 million in just 6 months in 2024. This is not a badge of honor. It is an indictment. It is a reflection of an extractive financial order that has mastered the art of commodifying desperation. Our banking system, commercial and microfinance alike, has grown increasingly detached from the developmental needs of our people. Formal lenders impose prohibitive rates. Informal lenders operate with impunity, some charging over 50% interest, preying on fear and scarcity. This is not financial inclusion, this is financial entrapment. And let us be clear, Honorable Speaker, the face of this crisis is not anonymous. It is Namibian, it is young, it is underpaid, it is overworked, and it is largely ignored. The architecture of our financial system, though often praised for its resilience and regulatory soundness, conceals within the scaffolding of inequality. The Bank of Namibia, in its recent induction presentation, affirmed that our financial sector remains robust, anchored by a stable exchange regime and high capital adequacy ratios. But I ask, stable for whom? Certainly not for the small scaler in Omusati, whose harvest cannot meet repayment obligations. Not for the informal trader in Katutura, whose marginal gains are devoured by predatory repayment cycles, and certainly not for the teacher in Khobabes, who is forced to borrow from her own future just to make ends meet. This crisis, Honorable Speaker, is intensified by the policy and structural constraints imposed by our fixed exchange rate regime. The peg to the South African rand has long been viewed as a stabilizing mechanism, shielding our economy from currency volatility, but this stability comes at a cost measured in the narrowing of our monetary policy space and the externalization of economic control. The maintenance of a lower repo rate relative to South Africa is intended to support domestic activity. Yet, Honorable Speaker, paradoxically, lending rates in Namibia remain staggeringly high, with prime lending rates ranging between 10 and 40%. Thus, this juncture reveals a flaw in the transmission of monetary policy and suggests that stability is not trickling down to those who need it most. This is not merely a monetary policy dilemma, it is a question of sovereignty. We must engage in a parliamentary inquiry into how Namibia can maximize strategic autonomy within this arrangement. This is not a call, Honorable Speaker, to abandon the peg, but a call to explore where the peg constrains, where it empowers, and where we must recalibrate. Our current economic deficit, averaging around 15.3% of GDP in 2024, reflects the systemic trade imbalances that expose our economy to external shocks and inflate our reliance on borrowing. We import, obviously, more than we produce, and our economic vulnerabilities are multiplied by global dynamics over which we have little control. The African Development Bank, in its 2024 Country Focus Report, argued that the international financial system is failing countries like Namibia, failing to offer counter-cyclical support, failing to facilitate sustainable development financing, and failing to prevent debt spirals caused by conditionalities that prioritize creditor interests over human development. This critique is not ideological, it is empirical, Honorable Speaker. The rising cost of sovereign debt service between 2023 and 2030 threaten to destabilize fiscal space, reduce public investment, and render our national budgets reactive rather than transformative. We cannot, Honorable Speaker, reform what we are unwilling to interrogate. We cannot address financial exclusion by merely expanding access to predatory credit. We must confront the deeper logic that allows profitability to be decoupled from equity. The establishment narrative tells us that as a well-capitalized financial sector is a sign of national strength. But if capitalization comes at the cost of dispossession, if profit rests on broken backs of the indebted, then we must reject this paradigm. A banking sector that grows while households crumble is not resilient, it is predatory, it is extractive, and it is unsustainable. Honorable Speaker, I propose a multidimensional response that does not merely apply band-aids, but reimagines the system itself. First, we must amend the Banking Institutions Act to cap interest rates within reasonable and humane thresholds. The draft regulations on fees and charges already finalized and consulted upon must be enforced with real consequence. These are not technical reforms, they are moral imperatives. No family should pay back double what they borrowed just to keep their lights on. Second, the Bank of Namibia must expand its regulatory jurisdiction to include informal traders or informal lenders, digital loan apps, and microfinance operators. Regulation without reach is rhetoric. Enforcement without equity is oppression. Third, I propose that we establish a debt relief program targeted specifically at, of course, civil servants and low-income households. This could be capitalized using the Welwitschia Fund, which has grown to $24.263 million with a 10.4% return. You can just again the floor yourself, eh? Let us put sovereign wealth to sovereign use, not to accumulate for accumulation's sake, but to stabilize lives and build resilience. Imagine what it would mean for a young graduate burdened by student loans to receive a low-interest restructuring plan that grants her room to breathe. This is what justice looks like, Honorable Speaker. Fourth, financial literacy, which touches on personal responsibility, must be elevated from a pilot program to a national campaign. The instant payment solution due to launch later this year offers an opportunity to scale digital financial education. Let us use it as a platform to empower rural communities, demystify credit, and break the generational cycle of debt dependency. It is not enough, Honorable Speaker, to condemn loan sharks if we leave our people unequipped to navigate the formal sector. Beyond this, I propose that we expand the mandate of the Welwitschia Fund to include a dedicated social investment portfolio, and this portfolio should support micro-enterprises, youth-led ventures, and renewable energy cooperatives that offer employment and innovation outside of the formal credit system. Moreover, our gold accumulation strategy must be accelerated, targeting at least 5% of foreign reserves as a hedge against currency instability and a bargaining tool in debt restructuring negotiations. Honorable Speaker, the banking sector must also be reoriented to serve not only its shareholders, but the broader Namibian society. We need to incentivize ethical lending, reward long-term productive investment, and penalize extractive financial behavior. The Bank of Namibia should incorporate household debt sustainability into its macroprudential oversight. It is no longer enough to ask whether banks are solvent. We must ask whether people are secure. Let us also shift our eyes to the global conversation. Across the African continent, Honorable Speaker, voices are rising to call for a new international financial order, one that values development over discipline, justice over austerity. Namibia must not be a passive observer in this movement. We must lend our voice to calls for a reformed global debt framework that places debtor survival above creditor returns. Our foreign policy, I'm rounding up, must reflect our domestic reality. We cannot continue to defend the system that devours ours. Honorable members, let us remember that history does not absolve silence. The crisis we face is not insurmountable, but it is urgent. We cannot legislate dignity, but we can dismantle the structures that erode it. We cannot, Honorable Speaker, legislate dignity, but we can dismantle the structures that erode it. The motion I present today is not just about debt. It is about the values we enshrine in our laws, the priorities we reflect in our budgets, and the futures we build through our voices. I urge your support, honourable members, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a collective affirmation that the Namibian economy must work for the many and not for the few. Let us rebuild a financial architecture that values life over leverage, inclusion over exclusion, and justice over profit. I move that this motion be debated, discussed, and thereafter be referred to the relevant standing committee. I so submit, Honourable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, honourable members. Any further discussions? I see 99. Who is 99? Which mic is flicking? I can't see the mic. Oh, it's behind there. Honourable member, you have the floor. You have the floor, honourable member.
Honourable Speaker,
yes.
My name is Honourable Lillian Ultuhezi, the Shadow Minister for Gender.
Okay. Honourable member, you have the floor. You may
Yes.
make a contribution.
Good afternoon, honourable members of this august House. I would like to support this motion because high debts have taken a stronghold on our working society. High debts are a very huge financial burden on our hardworking Namibian households, particularly on our civil servants, which includes, amongst others, our uniformed servicemen and women. These high debts have led to severe consequences for many struggling families, affecting them emotionally, psychologically, financially, and even affecting personal relationships, which, as we all know, is a contributing factor to the many high divorce cases in the country, and to the gender-based violence, to mention but a few. Due to these high debts, a large portion of one's income goes towards servicing debts, which leaves very little for many households to buy essentials such as food or paying for children's education, among others. This sad reality has led to many of our people losing their homes to banks, that some are forced to sell their properties to settle debts and sustain themselves in these very difficult times. To make things worse, a lot of our people who find themselves with high debts have now resorted to resigning from their jobs, especially young people. Scores of teachers are resigning because they cannot sustain themselves, with the hope of accessing their pensions. In doing so, many are now contributing to the high unemployment again. Our children are losing their parents to suicide. This also leads to severe high blood pressure, extreme stress, and depression because of these very high personal debts are the contribution factor. Honorable members, this is not a partisan issue, but a very serious national crisis that needs our collective effort to solve, to stop the spiraling of these high debts and grave despair before more families are broken, as the cost of inaction is more severe on our nation's general well-being. I so submit.
Thank you, honourable member. I now recognize Honourable Kapofi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. I would like to, my contribution will be very short. I like to acknowledge the importance of this motion. It is true, there are sharks there who have no mercy to whoever is borrowing. But my concern is the amount of wants versus needs. We have our needs and our wants are going out of control. As a result, if you do not contain the wants, no matter how much amount you earn, if your appetite to acquire is not controlled, you can forget about it. I'm not suggesting that the way the sharks are taking the money from people is justifiable, but I want to appeal to the society, especially to young ones. These are real life things that Honorable Moto is talking about. I mean, Hengari. Moto is this other one. Honorable Hengari, yeah, I'm very sorry. Forgive me for that. You have been friends here, you know. So it's real. But I've seen. I have youngsters, you know, that I associate with, some of whom are my kids. But the point is, the level of just getting into it without looking back as to what you can service and what you cannot. We cannot just blame people. Those people are in business, they want to make money. But they are not coming to our houses to look for us. We go there and look for them. So we should also try very hard to contain the level of our wants, because that is no matter how much money you can earn. If today you want the Rolls Royce, tomorrow you want the Jaguar, next day you want what? You see what the other person has and you want it. Where does it end? Nowhere. So I want to support it, but I really want, as the committee attempts to address this problem, it must also address the issues of unending or non-ending skyrocketing ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize Honorable Mvula.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I stand in support of the motion, Honorable Hengari, and pretty much concur with the sentiments as shared earlier on. Now, as one of the champions of micro or designing local micro finance product and programs for local people, especially the rural poor and peri-urban vendors or informal traders, I think there are many lessons that this country can draw from the work of the civil society over the past 3 decades, especially when it comes to financial access to the rural poor, whereby many success stories have actually been recorded from the days of Project Hope Namibia, where when I was an employee then, we managed to actually increase the household assets of the rural poor households of up to 350 beneficiaries. And these were vulnerable women and young people that were receiving these microfinances, but as productive loans with very flexible loan repayment terms. Now, this is actually drawn, or this model is drawn from the Grameen Bank, which was piloted in that Yorba or Jobra village of the Bangladesh as a brainchild of Professor Mohammed Yunus in 1976. Now, I'm fully aware during my days with the civil society, whether it's the Joint Consultative Committee, JCC, or even the NANGOF as an umbrella body for civil societies or society organizations in Namibia, there have been efforts to strengthen the access to finance programs, not only at the level of civil society. Of course, they were getting money more from foreign donors, but also at government level through the Ministry of Trade and Industry then, where the Small Credit Guarantee Trust resorted, which eventually became or add much more weight to the SME Bank, which is now unfortunately defunct because of maladministration and corruption. Now, it is true that most civil society, or rather civil servants, when it's month end, they, or not most, let me retract that. When it's month end, then peace at home also disappears, because obviously a chunk of their salary has to go back to the shark, or rather loan sharks, to such an extent, Honorable Speaker, that they have to borrow in order to pay up the loans that they owe to some of these loan sharks. So through the Ministry of Finance, I think, or the Office of the Prime Minister, I think there is a need to strengthen collaboration between central government, especially the National Planning Commission, between that and civil society, and really find ways to see how even financial literacy can be improved. The current program has not actually, and I'm to be proven wrong, yielded what, or rather the objective that was set as from the beginning. And then I think if this responsibility is given to the responsible Parliamentary Standing Committee, I think we would have a very good insight into the intricacies as well as the repercussions of financial burdens, both psychologically and otherwise on households. But thank you so much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kandarodu.
Thank you, Speaker. I have to support the motion, and it's good that the Minister of Finance is here. We have the regulator, which is NAMFISA, that's supposed to regulate, to control, to give directions to the macro lenders. But however, NAMFISA, it doesn't do that. And the instrument that guides NAMFISA, it came from this house. So where is possible, we need to amend in order to assist, to amend the instrument or the act in order to assist our community not to fall into debts. But then our cost of living is skyrocketing. The salary that we pay to our people is very less, very minimal, comparing to CIP, Consumer Price Index direction. The way it tells us the basket of the daily needs that you need per month, let's say, is 2,000. But this person is only getting 3,000 per month. Farm worker, cleaner, domestic workers, these people are completely underpaid. And the funny thing of life is that a bread or milk, sugar, it costs the same price like the one where the MD or the Minister or Member of Parliament will buy for. So we don't have two prices of products where the low earning category pay less and the high they pay more. That's the unfortunate thing of life. Now, we have the banking sectors that are also contributing or pushing, it's a pushing factor to the macro lenders. So if the people are rejected to get overdraft at a financial entity, where do they go? Because of the issue of the needs and the want. Then they go to micro lenders. Now, at micro lender level, there is a high risk of debts. People don't pay micro lenders. The nation owes micro lenders billions and billions. So as a result, they load more interest to those that are responsive to the requirements set. Why? Because banks don't want to cooperate with micro lenders because they're in competition. Bank of Namibia don't want to come in. Micro lenders are not allowed to be paid from the payslip, from the HR or finance department of a particular institution. So you need to be long-term micro lenders where you will collect your money over a period of 6 months, 3 months, 12, and so on. For 1 month, you are not allowed to have that agreement with the institution in order to assist the defaulting part of micro lenders. So it's a very complex issue in totality. So therefore I submit that the committee responsible need to do a very thorough investigation, consultations with everybody to see how do we help the banking institution in this side, the lenders themselves, the operator of or the owner of the micro lenders, and NAMFISA in particular, to see where do we help, and then we must look at the issue of affordabilities and the way we pay. The salary standard in Namibia is completely very, very pathetic. We need to address that system. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize Honorable Ampanda.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable. Yes, Hengari, my student, I'm so proud of you. I want to really just add a certain perspective so that we can think differently about this aspect. In the Zambezi region, councillors who were there exchanged the land for the cars. Yeah? And Honorable Sankwasa came for them. But no one is actually asking what is in the orientation of those councillors. Honorable Kapofi, in your village, once you slaughter a cow, what happens? What do neighbors do? They come with what? No, they come with basket full of mahangu, and you give them meat in exchange. None of us is actually thinking about that orientation about barter and what happens actually in our society. In fact, none of those people who are in the banks, running Bank of Namibia or anybody else, actually care to think about our financial orientation. I want to take it further. If I just ask you in your languages, what is credit? Honorable Kapofi, what's credit?
You are not allowed, Honorable Professor.
Speaker, I'm
you are not allowed, Honorable Professor, to conduct a class in Parliament.
But Speaker, how do I make a point?
No.
Okay, let me answer my own question.
Yes, that's better.
I think in Koikoiko is surute. Surute, isn't it? Surute. In Oshikwanyama they say enjo,
engere,
engunga, and all those things. Makongo in Kavango and all those things. You discover that all those concepts are wrong. They are not correct. They are not correct because if you are saying, if you Honorable Swatboy, if credit means surute, why do I say send me credit on airtime? If you say in credit angel, then when I say, that's why I asked the question. Hold on, that's not the point I'm making. I'm trying to make that there is a contradiction actually. We actually believe that's what it means. Because we are coming, I know, just listen, Honorable Shifeta. Because we have a different orientation and nobody ever wanted to have an African orientation expressed in our financial system.
True.
Because we struggle with those things. And I'm not just saying those things randomly. I also have a personal experience. Because we literally believe where we come from is that if you are driving a car and the car is being owned by the bank, you got credit, then something is wrong with you. So when I came to Windhoek, when I bought my first TV, I had the receipt. Anything that I bought, I even tell people, no, those are my things I own, I bought them cash. When I needed to go to get a loan from the bank and say, can you give us your credit record? Do you know what I took, Speaker? I took my receipts of the things that I own to show that I'm credit worthy because I don't owe anybody. Then they said, no, we can't give you credit. I needed to go Menjo in order to get Angel. You see, I needed to get in debt in order to get credit. And those concepts are not necessarily the same. The first thing that I'm saying as a contribution, we need to think about our social engineering when it comes to finances. That's why our people fall into those problems. When I started working at the University of Namibia with my colleagues, we were paid the same salary, we started at the same time. So he went to collect our payslip. So he opened his and he was about to open mine. Then I quickly grabbed my payslip. No, you can't open my payslip. But it's a first payslip. There is nothing secretive about it. We share the same salary. But my orientation, the idea of the pocket that I must only see, the idea of a shisha, that where we store, where only the father and the mother looks at, informs our orientation. I don't want to waste a lot of time, but we need to look at the motion that is presented deeply to understand that we are sitting with major and material problems. What we have in our financial system is a moral question that we have to take between. You will see, we are told as lawmakers that, no, why do you want to close down Shebins? We send our children to school with the money coming from Shebin, right? This is one parent. On the other hand, you have another parent who's saying, whose child is saying, no, my father, I had to drop out of school because my father is always gambling his salary at this Shebin. So one family believes that gambling helps them to send their children to school, and another family, gambling, deprive their children of an opportunity to go to school. So this is a problem that we have. I'm coming to an end, Speaker. In my other life, at one point, I had to sit. I had to be very careful not to go in details.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yes. We were sitting there trying to adjudicate a misconduct. What had actually happened is that police officers in this institution have what is called walkie-talkie. So this person was so desperate, they needed money, they went to the pawn shop, they needed to leave something of value, and they left that walkie-talkie. So at that place, when the police is coordinating their operation, they can hear what was happening. So our police and soldiers, the risk for them to have their pay slips there with loan sharks. I know you need to get permission and now and then, but the reality is that they sometimes don't even get those things. But are we saying the police and the army cannot give loans to their own members? Yeah? So lastly is that in Islamic countries, why they don't have this problem, Speaker? They take social engineering seriously and they introduce, even in curriculum, called, you do a banking qualification, Minister Shimi, it will be a master's in Islamic banking law. So in other words, they take banking law, they take finances, and they add their orientation, which is Islamic orientation. There's a particular way how you handle money. There's a particular way how you handle loans and things. Without principles, we will not be able to do it. It is a responsibility of leadership. Let's think about social engineering. Let's think about reorientating and really doing something and changing our orientation so that we can do something
Very good, Honorable. Thank you very much. Honorable Karonda. I want as many people to have an opportunity to say something. It's a long list. Honorable
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the motion and say one or two things. The first is, in fact, Honorable Ngari spoke about the predatory banking or financial system that we have. I am also of the view that we also have a predatory state. And to ask people responsible for a predatory state to address matters related to a predatory institution may not be one of the wisest things to do, but this is something that we definitely need to work on, but urgently so. I also believe that a lot of our people out there, more often than not, would lose their properties, especially houses. You owe the bank $80,000. The house is worth $1 million. They step in, they auction it, they sell it for a price far below its worth, and still leave the very same debtor with the burden of debt, because now you also need to pay back the bank. And Honorable Speaker, that's something that I think we really need to urgently address if we are to help out. When I agree with Comrade Honorable Kandrolu that perhaps the very basis of this is that you have a lot of poorly paid employees out there. And because they can hardly make ends meet, they are forced by circumstances to engage the micro lending outfits, which then leave them in this debt trap. So in the end, it's not really about the question of whether we can balance between wants and needs. I think what we have as a situation on the ground is one where the needs that our people have just simply cannot be met by the little salaries that they are paid. And that's why I think it is important that we really delve into this issue and perhaps at the committee level propose the necessary amendments to the relevant pieces of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Aupindi.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Just in my short presentation, I will probably focus on, you see, if you look at the motion, it's very, very important, and I will support it unconditionally. And I really look forward to interrogating it as we move towards the committees. Because and I'm a big supporter of free enterprises, but what we have right now is that free market capitalism has been replaced by free market vulture capitalism. It's no longer a capital system, it's vulture. Venture has now become vulture capital, where the entire financial market is not aligned to national strategic objectives. So you have a person coming in and telling you the national priority as enshrined in the Constitution is that housing is a human right. And you have a banking sector or financial sector that is operating and lending out loans, and they are absolutely going to suck the hell out of it. If you just have to look at the statistic. In fact, the Honorable has cited that a financial institution has made 199 million. 3 banks in 2024 have made 2.6 billion in after net taxes. After net profits. And they feel no apology whatsoever. If you look at and I said that in 2023, 277 houses were repossessed. Now, surely, if you look at the big chunk of this bad debt, is actually lying in the components which are national priority, like housing, which we want to solve. And if you look at the bank, their credit setups, their strategic intent, their interest rates, their home loan rates, including home loan rates, which is highly contested, even access to credits, they are disproportionately out of control. And I don't actually know why we live in a country where we are not regulating these issues. What are we scared of to regulate these financial institutions? Is it that they are so important to our economy at the expense of our people? They are not. They are not more important than the people that we are trying to serve. And therefore, if the free market capitalism has been out of control, the right thing to do is to regulate and reverse that traction. It has happened even in the United States, which is the so-called the free world. where free market capitalism is actually on steroids. They have regulated it to bring it back to reality so that you match your national strategic objective with your priorities and your human needs, and in so doing, you will end up creating a just and better society, because right now it is not. You're actually having a system that is saving the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the fat cats start just sucking blood out of the poor people. We cannot allow that to continue, and it is in that reason why I will support this motion unconditionally, and I congratulate you, Honorable Hina. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I recognize Honorable Lucato.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, members of Parliament, and the leaders of political parties. I thank you for the floor. Let me say Namibia is a rich country with all resources, and also that about 3 million population of Namibia, 3 million population of Namibia, they are too little. So we are facing with unemployment, and also we are facing that the civil servants, they live in poverty after 35 years. So which means that according to my contribution, I can say that this motion in question is so important for this August House, is so important for all Namibian people, because it's the welfare of Namibians. Honorable Speaker, let me quote Article 95 of the Constitution of Namibia, Chapter 11, Principles of the State Policy. It says, promotion of the welfare of the people. Who are the people? The Namibian people. So let me say, I don't have any zigzag to support this motion, but 100% I support it. I so submit it, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, thank you, Honorable. Now I give the floor to Honorable Mashindange.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. First, I want to thank Honorable Hengari for that motion that really speaks to the urgent needs of the majority of our people. It's with that heart and assessing how sensitive this issue is to the majority of the people that we serve, that I want to postpone the debate on these critical motions to Tuesday, the 2nd of July for my further and thorough contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. There are some more members on the list, so I'll give the floor to them first. I recognize Honorable Amtenya.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I also stand to join fellow honorable members on this motion, and more so to thank my fellow honorable member of Parliament for raising up this matter. The fact that debt is a serious threat, and I believe all of us, we can agree that it's a major cause of depression and even suicide in our nation today. It is so unfortunate that this threat is running concurrently with the economic pressure that our society is going through, that borrowing becomes the only alternative to solving these financial challenges. But while our laws and the regulations that we have provide some level of protection against these unmanageable debts,
I believe, Honorable Speaker, that the most sustainable and empowering solution lies not just in the regulation or the policies and the laws that we have, but I believe it lies also in education. Financial literacy, that's what I'm referring to here. The fact that financial literacy should not even be a luxury, but it should be a national necessity, especially in this very difficult time. Our education system or education curriculum, I don't believe that it has so much detailed components of financial literacy that instills financial discipline amongst our people. From the primary school, secondary school, even at the university itself, I can't recall attending a lecture where I'm taught about financial literacy. I just can't recall at all. So I think, Honorable Speaker, if we are really to be serious about tackling this debt crisis, we must as well promote financial literacy in our schools. We must incorporate financial literacy in our primary curriculum, secondary curriculum, and even going down to the university curriculum, so that everyone exits the education system should at least have the skills and the basics of financial literacy. And even possibly as community members, we should, even in the churches, we must also discuss about these matters of financial literacy. And even in our youth engagements, Po Hungi, where we are meeting young people, I think it's time that we engage these aspects of financial literacy. So to me, Honorable Speaker, this issue of debts is not just an economic issue, but to me it's a developmental issue, it's a development issue, and it's a justice issue. Therefore, we must have a detailed discussion at the committee level where we should get solutions that really tackle these debts as a development issue, a justice issue, and as an economic issue. With that, I do support the motion. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable. I now recognize Honorable Kumbwa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the floor. I'm standing here to support the motion, and I will thank my Honorable Hungari to bring this under the attention of this august House. As it seems to be at a later stage for the motion to be at the committee stage, I propose also, through my contribution, that inquiries, thorough inquiries should be done to look into the origin of such institutions, because we take it from there, then we will understand what is the fundamental objective, whether to rip out our people, while these people maybe, it can be also that certain lawmakers might be beneficiaries through these financial institutions. We start from there, because that is where the corruption starts. Because today, as I'm talking, there are lawmakers, there are SOEs making 200,000 Namibian dollar per day just for a sitting allowance in this country. So we start from there. I propose that the Parliamentary Standing Committee on that issue should go further there. Then, because if we don't go in that way, we will not manage, since fiefdom style of managing of these financial institutions is very high in Namibia, where you have the retired father, a retired minister, the child is a CEO, the nephew is a managing director, and these people make these benefit from this institution while our people are suffering and they are not getting the living wage that we fought for before independence. Furthermore, as I support the motion, are these institutions, do they have a well-informed information or statistic apart from enriching themselves and their families? Do they have social responsibilities to fund these children who are not able to attend universities? If they don't have, then we must scrutinize this very well. Lastly, I want to say that ourselves must be ourselves for justice, and it must start from the lawmakers. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support the motion.
Thank you. I now recognize Honorable Werikwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would like to, first of all, as a disclaimer, want the Speaker to protect me from a reverend behind.
You are protected,
Thank you very much.
Member. Can the reverend please not?
Yes. First of all, indeed, it's a very important motion, a motion that touches on the social architecture of our society, and indeed a motion that touches on all our households, depending on the socio-economic strata where you sit at. When you look at the situation currently that we are finding ourselves in, especially from the background where I'm coming from, being the public servant, it is that you would find that on a pay slip of a public servant, I was surprised to see a public servant actually taking home from a whole salary of 15,000 or whatever that it is, only 300 or 400. That comes as a result of everything and anything that is actually lined up on that pay slip. At times, people even go to the extent of taking one loan to cancel the other, out of desperation and the threats that you get from the institution that indeed if you don't take this seriously, we will actually blacklist you and all sorts of things. Be that as it may. What is the position and, of course, the contribution of the financial sector in its whole quagmire that we sit in? A report that was released on the 3rd of April this year, and I saw it, of course, in the Namibia, it writes that the total profit that was actually accrued and enjoyed, that is being enjoyed by the financial institutions of our republic, being the commercial banks, amounts to 14.5 billion Namibian dollars. And that 14.5 billion Namibian dollars, it was also reported that that is an increase with 1.7 billion as of the preceding financial year being 2023. Now, what is important, out of that whole amount, 8.7 billion of that amount comes from interest on loans. And this interest on loans primarily comes from the residential mortgages, fixed assets, and of course, indeed, fixed-term loans. What does that tell us? It is not that individuals, as you know that very well, Namibia is sitting with a serious backlog as far as housing is concerned. Out of desperation, out of the will, and of course, the edge of you trying to provide for your family, you go take a loan, you buy a property. Somehow you default on that because of the inability to be able to service that loan. And of course, these banks and the financial institutions, with the policies and of course the agreements that you have signed in place, they would go through anything and everything to come after you as far as that is concerned. I'm taking this and coupling it with something that is important, Honorable Speaker. When you look at the suicidal rate at the same time, 542 cases were reported by the Namibian police of suicide cases in the Republic of Namibia. Out of those cases, 449 were reported to be men, and 80 of those cases were reported to be women. What does that tell us? Biblically, we are told the man as the head of the household is actually the enabler, the provider, and you have to do everything and anything to make sure. Speaker, am I protected?
Yes, you are protected,
Thank you very much.
Honorable Member.
And I'm standing at my point. The man is supposed to be, apparently, a provider. Now, that's what some sectors of the quarters are saying, and I stand firm and I'm a provider of my household. And as a provider of a household, men undergo a lot of pressure if you are not able to provide that very household. And a lot of men, they tend to actually take the shortest route possible. That is to end their life. If you unalive yourself, the danger that exists is that your family is left disrupted, and indeed there is no future for your children. Then, the question that I'm putting to myself is, what do we do as this 8th Parliament of the Republic of Namibia to make sure that indeed we address this issue? We don't have to be partisan on this issue, for it is affecting every household. It is an issue of serious nature that we need to address on a serious note. Of this, I would say, when you look at the banking institutions of the same report, Capricorn Group last year reported 1 billion Namibian dollars as profits. Bank Windhoek reported 710 million Namibian dollars as profits. FNB reported 926.3 million Namibian dollars as profits. Standard Bank 105 billion, and of course Nedbank was still to submit their financials. And while everybody else is making losses and properties are being repossessed, the question is, when you go to the auctions, who are the key people that bid for these houses that are repossessed from the people? Who become the key owners and multiple property owners of these houses that are being repossessed for, in the name of saying they are going to actually take this money back to the people, or we are going to recoup and recover our debts because you are unable to service? Here we are having a serious objective of addressing housing needs. Here we have a serious issue where actually institutions are colluding and doing everything and anything to make sure that they rip you off of this in the name of recovering what you owe them. And as I said to this House, it's a serious motion that requires, when it goes down to the level of the committee, let us delve in this through a serious issue. It must be objectivity. It must be seriousness and not our emotions that should guide our discussions and guide our deliberations as we are going forward in this motion. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And enough, for the first time you brought something that actually aligns with my ethos and principles. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Honorable Hengari, Honorable. Now, Honorable Ita.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Hengari, apparently that's the first time you are meeting the expectation.
Honorable Speaker.
Okay, Honorable. Honorable Ita.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, honorable members of this August House. I stand to comment on the motion, particularly also to clarify that debt is not necessarily a bad thing. Why I'm saying this? Most of us, we have houses, and you will never buy a house or a hire purchase on cash. You have to go through financial institution to acquire a loan, and so that as time goes, and then you will be finished your mortgage bond. That is now the house. Now, even if you want to acquire a car, you need to go to the bank also to borrow funds through hire purchase, and then you will be required to have that asset, which is very, very, very important. Now, what we should do, we should encourage, especially those institutions which was established by Act of Parliament. That is now NAMFISA. NAMFISA was established by Act of Parliament, Act number 3 of 2021. We need to encourage them, to motivate them so that they can regulate and supervise the non-financial institution. Non-financial institution, I mean like micro lending and also other cash loans, yes. And while the financial institutions we are referring to, banks are being regulated by Bank of Namibia. So, Honorable Speaker, we have also Labor Act, which is protecting the masses or the consumers. According to Labor Act 11 of 2007, it states that no borrower should exceed 1/3 of his or her salary. So in other words,
There is a point of order, Honorable Member.
In other words, we should, honestly
speaking, there is a point of order. Yeah, on what point is the Honorable Rampandara rising?
Non-financial means non-banking financial.
Mike.
The students that are here. So the students here that we believe that loan sharks are non-financial institutions, they are going to write exam and fail. They will say that it was said in Parliament. So it's non-banking financial institution. Not
Okay, you have made your point. May you please take your seat now, Honorable. I didn't pick that up. Honorable Ita, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. So, honorable members of this August House, what I would like to emphasize is our communities must be taught not to borrow funds for merely asset for consumption.
Operation.
And also for relaxation. We should actually borrow funds to enhance the life of the people. It is not wise to borrow funds just to go and buy food or to buy this normal like a calculator, for example, alcohol, for example, drugs. And therefore, it is very, very important that our community should basically educate it so that they can borrow some assets which can also bring a better life to our people. So finally, Honorable Speaker, I would like also to encourage all to give to the community to opt for shack dwellers, build together houses, and also NHG have also some, cheaper houses. Instead of go to the financial institution, shack dwellers can also give loan. The interest rate, although the interest rate is always fluctuating, but it is below the prime rate, which is now 10.5. So I so submit, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. I give the floor to Honorable Haikola.
Thank you very much. I rise to contribute and congratulate Honorable Engari, my sister, on this important motion. So I want to talk about predatory lending tactics, loan recycling, debt trapping, reloaning pressure or renewal inducement. Just when you are about to finish of paying a certain loan, they either call you or flood your phone with a lot of messages telling you to come get another loan. Our brothers and our sisters are not getting out of this circle because, I'm not talking to you, because the reason why they are not getting out of it, just when you are about to finish, and then you are tempted again. So this really needs to be, but it's only some banks, only some, but the rest are good. A friend of mine only escaped that trap when she changed her card. You know, now you have to go to MTC, buy a new card so that you can stop receiving this, inducing these tempting messages to come collect another loan again. So I recommend, my recommendation is that we must strengthen internal ethical marketing policy. I understand the bank is marketing, but we must prioritize the dignity of our clients. And we must also, there must also be an introduction of a cooling off period. An introduction of a cooling off period. So meaning after, it should be voluntary. After you borrow a loan and finish paying it off, you must be advised voluntarily to take off a cooling period so that the person can be able to recover. So with that, I thank you, Honorable Hengari, for bringing this.
Yes, thank you, Honorable. I recognize Honorable Shimi.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I would like to ask for the indulgence of the House, if there's nobody else who wants to contribute now, to postpone this discussion until next week, Tuesday, so that I can make a contribution.
Yeah. No, there are two other people on the floor, and there was another member also that had requested to adjourn. So let's hear from the next MPs. Honorable Somaib, you have the floor.
I agree.
No, you are listed here. Oh, you didn't ask for the floor?
No, I have asked for the floor,
okay.
And I will not be long.
Okay. You can make a contribution.
I will be sweet and salt like me.
Very good.
Yeah, I would love to congratulate Honorable for a good motion, and other members really contributed much. But I only wanted to add, it's good that we can advise our civil servants not to take loans. But in my maiden speech this year, I have requested that we should consider our civil servants to get withdrawal from their pension. Maybe that will be the only method for them also to stay far from these tempting SMSs and loans. So once we reach committee stage, let's also consider maybe how we can discuss and maybe come up with alternatives to withdraw loans from our pension. Either twice a year, after every second year or something like that. That's the only method also to ease the burden. So I submit.
Thank you, Honorable. I give the floor to Honorable Matundu.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I rise to contribute to this motion and to add my words to those who have contributed ahead of me. My contribution, I just wanted to say that the issue of borrowing money has pros and cons when it comes to short-term debt and long-term debt. My sister here has spoken about that when you're about to go out of finishing that very specific loan or so, there's another thorn in the flesh, which is the clothing retailer shops. You pay, then they send you the same message to say, no, now you qualify for 12,000. And you may have maybe 5 or so. Each one is tempting you to invite you. You have 7,000 credit. You have 12. You have what? You may try your level best to discipline yourself, but then yet again you will see something in a shop and then you go back and drown again in the debts. So another one, it's weddings. Weddings has become so expensive that a person will go for a quick loan, let's say, just as it has been mentioned by the mover of this motion. And even before, unfortunately, before you could even finish repaying this loan, something may happen and the marriage ended just like that, and then you continue paying after. So at the end of the day, it really requires discipline from yourself. You need to have a meeting with yourself. Because if it was these debts are likely maybe to be written off, one could have wished that, okay, let them write them off, but they can't, because it's now you went for a loan and you need to repay it. So it really requires discipline to see how are we going to manage our lifestyles with the little that we are getting. I just really wanted to contribute on that. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Now, I want to understand whether Honorable Mwashindange was deferring the debate to an earlier or later date compared to, because I will give the floor to the member that is deferring to an earlier date. 2nd of July. Same day, same Tuesday. So then the House, the debate is adjourned until the 2nd of July. Okay, then, no, he was not showing on the screen. He only showed now. Honorable Member, I have ruled already you were not on the list. Yeah, then come prepared on Tuesday to contribute on Tuesday. Okay, the second notice of a motion is the one of Honorable Karonda. Does the Honorable Member move the motion?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I do.
Who seconds the motion? Any objection? Agreed to. The Honorable Member now has the floor to motivate the motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Members, I rise to table a motion on the employment conditions of all uniformed personnel services, especially those in the employ of the Namibian Police, the Namibian Correctional Services. This is also true of the Namibia Defense Forces. SWANU of Namibia considers all uniformed personnel or officers as workers who, in exchange of their labor power and time, expect to be fairly remunerated so as to lead lives they have reason to value. In its founding document, also known as the Constitution, SWANU confirms as its ultimate aim the establishment of an egalitarian socialist society based on the alliance of the working people. It is this expressed desire and the obtaining working conditions in the police, correctional services, and the defense forces that inform the urgent need for this motion. SWANU wishes to state at the very outset that this motion is not an indictment of those responsible for any of these entities, but an urgent call for action to help improve the working conditions of these workers. It is common cause that members of what I will refer to as uniformed personnel services, just to give a collective name for ease of reference, especially those outside of management rank, work under the most harsh and difficult conditions. In fact, these workers put their lives in harm's way and at risk every single day of their working lives to protect and serve all of us. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, there's too much power concentrated in the hands of one individual, whether this is the Inspector General or the Commissioner General, depending on which institution you are dealing with. As a direct result of this over-concentration of power in the hands of one individual, workers are transferred from one duty station to another, as a result of which they are compelled to pay for their own houses, as well as for the accommodation to which they are transferred. This is a double burden suffered by these workers on account of a decision taken by the Public Service Commission, or under its guidance. Disciplinary procedures are grossly arbitrary, as the Commissioner General is the one who appoints disciplinary hearing committees, charges employees, as well as presides over the review or appeal processes. In respect of promotions, there is no fair and objective performance appraisal system in place, which is followed, as the ultimate decision lies in the hands of the Commissioner General who can choose to promote a worker or simply ignore such a worker. In some instances, where a worker is promoted and another ignored, the one ignored ends up training or teaching the promoted worker, which in the end kills the morale of the entire workforce. We are aware that during the times of both comrades Nangolo Mbumba and Nikki Iyambo, may his soul rest in peace, at the helm of the ministry under which the police force resides, fact-finding missions were instituted across the country to determine the conditions of work of our officers so as to offer solutions. To this very day, the conditions of work of our officers have not changed for the better, and the legislative environment within which they work remains also unchanged. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, it is also common cause that the Labour Act does not apply to these uniformed personnel services, and as a result, these workers do not enjoy the basic right of negotiating for their conditions of service directly with their employer. The non-application of the Labour Act to these categories of workers also means that they are not allowed to be paid overtime, even if they work long hours for which others would ordinarily qualify to be paid overtime. The most closest example to home, Honorable Speaker, is the time we spend here debating the national budget, long hours into the early hours of the next morning, with the police officers sitting outside the chamber. And still, we got paid overtime, and they did not. Our uniform...
They don't get.
That's contribute. But you do qualify. Our uniform personnel are by definition of our existing laws. Our uniform personnel are by definition of our existing laws not regarded or seen as employees or workers, despite meeting all salient requirements of being classified as workers. This is all because of Labour Act. This is all because the Labour Act does not apply to them. We must, as legislators, come to the rescue of these workers, as they have no legal body to speak for them. The regulations passed under the Police Act, both the Namibian police as well as the municipal police services, make what I would best characterize as a fictitious provision to the effect that any member of the force who wishes to form or join a trade union of his or her choice must first obtain written authorization from the Inspector General of the Namibian Police. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, this provision creates the fiction that when such written authorization is submitted, there's somehow the possibility that such authorization will be granted. In truth, this authorization in respect of those who sought it was never granted, and the reason which the Inspector General cites in his letters to decline this authorization are not only arbitrary, but also border on the absurd. In one of his letters denying the workers the right to form and or join trade unions, the Inspector General states, and I quote, "The law enforcement agencies in Namibia, such as the Namibian Police Force, Defense Force, Namibian Correctional Services, are statutorily precluded from joining trade unions without the permission of their superintendents, as they are expected to operate impartially at all times. Trade unions are political bodies by their nature, and the participation of law enforcement agencies in political activities will compromise the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of Namibia, national security, public order, decency, or morality, and force discipline." End of quote. This is indeed an unfortunate mischaracterization of what trade unions are. It is almost impossible to comprehend how public order, decency, or morality, and the discipline within the force could be negatively affected by the officers forming or belonging to a trade union of their choice. In the face of this mischaracterization, the rights of police officers and of those other uniformed personnel continue to be violated, And what is true about their working conditions is that they are paid low salaries, they are not paid any overtime, even if they are required to work overtime day in and day out. No payment of danger allowances, night shift allowances, no proper housing or car allowances, arbitrary and unlawful dismissals, especially constructive dismissals. The workplace tyranny to which these workers are subjected has left and continues to inflict untold suffering. Police officers are not promoted in rank through a transparent, participatory, and democratic process, as they are literally left to the whims of the Inspector General and his cronies. Several complaints have been raised about how sexual favors are demanded of some female members of the force to secure their upward mobility. For far too long, these matters have fallen on deaf ears, and it is time that this August House brings justice to the downtrodden of our police force members and those of other uniformed services. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the Inspector General is protected by law and has access to free legal services paid for by the taxpayers, while the ordinary police officer has no such privilege or right, and even if they want to legally challenge their employer, they do not have the money to afford lawyers. The extent to which this workplace tyranny has the members of the force petrified must no longer be allowed to persist as a norm. These workers are so afraid to fight for their rights because of persecution, intimidation, and unfair dismissal. This is untenable a workplace situation in a democratic society. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Max Weber once said, "We are called upon in life to serve different goals. The goals of political action rest on values different from those of scholarly reflection and direct us to give priorities to different obligations. However, activists and managers do not inhabit different worlds." I therefore move that this motion be debated and adopted, and that it be referred to the relevant Parliamentary Standing Committee. I so move.
Thank you, honourable member. I now recognize Honourable Ampanda.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Honourable Karonda. I want to state that during our younger days, Honourable Karonda, you're being distracted. Can you wait?
Honourable member, now we are almost out of time. You have only 2 minutes. Do you want to speak now, or you want to defer the debate to tomorrow?
We have 2 minutes before?
Because we have to rise at 5:45.
You are suggesting that I must adjourn it to tomorrow?
Oh, yes. If you want to contribute, adjourn it to tomorrow, because you won't be able to complete even a sentence today.
Yes, that's why I'm also... Oh, okay, so let me see how I can adjourn it now to tomorrow.
Yeah, just I move that the debate adjourns until tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very important motion. I also just want to say, we don't say it sometimes. During our younger days, when you were fighting those battles of
If you start talking now, you
were
will
very inspired. We want to say it publicly. We are very happy that you are continuing, because there's this temptation to try to rewrite history as if you'd never made any contribution to this country. You inspired us as young people. With that, Speaker, I adjourn the debate to tomorrow.
Yeah. Then, with that, I think really we have reached the we have arrived at the knock-off time for today. Can we agree to rise on automatic adjournment? Oh, no, he adjourned the debate. Then on that note, the House adjourns until tomorrow at 14:30.